All right, ladies and gentlemen, today is the day. Actually, it's technically the day before a big announcement is coming. And so what I've gone ahead and done is scheduled a talk with the co-founder of Illuvium. If you guys are from the Illuvium community, you've probably seen him a good 300 times over the past week, if I had to guess. He's a big figure and a very informative person in terms of POVs in the Web3 gaming space. We're going to be talking to him about not only Illuvium, but some of the things kind of happening over the NFT gaming space in this week specifically. And so with this being said, for the people watching you for the first time, because a lot of people here are from Gala, you know, you've got Gala and then you've got Illuvium, the two big players in the space. Maybe you can go ahead, introduce yourself, being the co-founder, and what really is the vision for Illuvium here?
Hey man, how you doing? Yeah, so the vision is to basically bring this this IP to life, and we do that through multiple different games that are all interoperable and seamlessly connected. The game that we're launching tomorrow is called Illuvium Beyond, which really taps into the NFT collectors out there, which I think are a different segment of people to your typical Web3 gamers that are out there. And you have the ability in the first set, we have all of the different alluvials that we'll be bringing out in waves, and waves come out every 3 months. So essentially, it's like if playing the original Pokemon on Game Boy was the overworld, which we released in beta 6 months ago or whatever. This is the actual physical card component of it, where you go into the store and you buy a pack and you put them into your album and you start trying to collect them all.
You know what's really interesting about that, Kieran? I saw this video on YouTube the other day, and it was about these Minecraft trading cards. The weirdest thing in the world. You would think Minecraft doesn't have trading cards, but people resell these things like these gold gas for $200 on the secondary market. If you're thinking about a brand IP like Illuvium, where it's just going to grow off and sprout to a bunch of different places, it just makes sense. And plus, like, there's a bunch of different NFT collectors that are already big on speculation on Web3 gaming. So it's like, you get a bunch of new users, you get a bunch of people that like the legacy collectibles, and you've got Illuvium Beyond, essentially. And so tell me about the actual, like, what's the idea behind Illuvium Beyond other than just, like, pack openings? Is there going to be integrations into the games, or is it kind of just going to be like, these are PFPs?
So what we would like, and obviously it's got to go through the governance process, but we would like to eventually turn it into a collectible card game. And so if you've got the alluvial, then you'll be able to power it up and start using that Illuvitar inside of this TCG. But again, a lot of these details need to be ironed out, but that's the end game. So it's not just what Illuvium Beyond is right now, which is, you know, being able to try and collect 500 different collections, which are in wave 1, which is
500
different collections, which is a lot of achievements, right? It's going to keep people busy. And what we've done is we've positioned these packs to be quite accessible. And what I mean by that is, to get a standard pack, you're looking at $8, right? Which in NFT,
that's free.
It's something like 0.005 ETH.
Sounds right, yeah.
For a standard pack, which it's almost like, did they screw that up? Like, that's not right? And additionally, the reason that looks not right is because typically you'd be paying more gas to mint that than you would on the actual product. And we don't have that problem because it's all on layer 2. You're not going to pay a single cent in gas when you mint these things. So we've made it really accessible. There's achievements. There's things like unlocks, where if you collect a certain collection, then if you collect all of the Illuvitars in a collection, then that will unlock things like skins inside the game, battle boards for the arena. And so there's a whole bunch of integration from this game. But the eventual end game that we have in mind, and again, obviously it needs to be council approved, is to turn it into a fully blown TCG.
That's really interesting. So when you guys went ahead and did Illuvium Beyond, did you have to go through that council vote to make it a reality?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Illuvium Beyond was prior to. We had to do the pricing. We were always going to do it. See, Illuvium Beyond was previously Illuvitars, which is what the actual cards are called.
Right.
And I originally pitched this idea to the game design team like nearly 2 years ago now. So I think
2 years ago.
Literally, and which is frustrating for me because like you look at Doodles 2, that was their V2 collection was announced 6 months after we had started building out this idea. But I think it was prior to us having governance processes where it was like more like every single little thing had to be approved. And so I think I pitched it and then we started coming up with ideas and whatever. And we just really wanted I just wanted a simple thing that could bridge the gap between these NFT speculators and Web3 investors, like the gaming investors. And so I think everyone just realized that, hey, they're going to build this, but in typical Illuvium fashion, it's turned into something that's 10 times bigger now. And it's had, tons of product design, polish and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. I remember when I watched the game at first and I was like, it's kind of there's not much to expect. And then randomly out of nowhere, you just hired like 200 people and scaled up the ass and the game looks beautiful now. Like, how does that even happen? Did you just get all the right VCs? Did you get the right talent that just happens to know how to build these beautiful alluvials, or what happened there?
Talent. It's talent, right? Like that's what it comes down to. We had and good luck and timing, right? Like we had a situation where we launched right in the midst of a bull market, not launched, announced, and that allowed us to get a ton of funding. And I've always run startups on the smell of an oily rag, right? Like just having no funding, no ability to grow or hire good teams and stuff like that. And so the minute that we had this much funding, myself and Grant, the other co-founder, we were like, let's get the best team in the world.
Make it happen, yeah.
And he wanted to go AAA really, really early on. And so we just decided to go on a hiring blitz, but not reduce our standards in terms of the types of the level of expertise of our contributors. So you'll find that at a minimum, we've got seniors in every single department. In a lot of cases, we've got 10, 15-year veterans of their field, and they just smash it out. They just work like, I don't even know.
They're built different, yeah.
We work like 10 to 15 hour days. Like it's insane. So, that's how we're basically doing 2 days in one.
Yeah, I mean, like you went on here and you were like, I got 2 hours of sleep, and poor like Taran was like half asleep as well. So you can see the effort you guys are putting in there. That's 100% for sure. And a cool thing you guys did is like you partnered with a million different like creators to get these giveaways out for these discs, which to be honest, like they're pretty cheap on entry. It's like $8 to get one of those discs, like you said before. So it's very easy to get these out there. You get that social media blitz. A lot of people like covering Illuvium anyway. I mean, when you think about the average Web3 gaming creator, we're all just looking for like the next thing that's going to launch that's actually fun, right? And I think when I was doing my due diligence on Illuvium, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a part of the game is going to be launching either this year or like next year in terms of like the full release.
Full release will be this year.
So it's this year.
100%. Yeah, we don't have a date.
Okay.
And that's the crazy thing. All 4 games will be live this year, which is insane.
That's a tall task. Yeah.
It's stupid. It's like for a game studio that's brand new, and a lot of people, like if you said that in mainstream, they would fucking laugh.
Yeah, they'd laugh at you 100%.
Be like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not going to happen. But we've got people playing these games, and the hook is going to be collecting the NFTs, generating the fuel that powers the economy. Like there's so much intricate detail that has gone into this entire universe that no one really understands the magnitude of it. And once we go live, it's going to be it's going to be known across the entire of Web3. I guarantee that.
I mean, I think you guys are pretty much the biggest web page for Web3 anyway, but that doesn't really mean much, right? There's not that many people on Web3. It's still a pretty new industry. It's like getting user acquisition. How do we do it? I mean, you make a good game and then you market it, right? A lot of people were kind of going, I think this is a good segue here. They were kind of going off on Dr. Disrespect yesterday for talking about NFTs. Have you guys seen the actual tweets out there if you're on the audience?
Yeah, I commented on that post.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I don't know. What did I say? I'm usually a bit of a troll.
I'm actually looking at it right now. You said, still blows my mind how us crypto folk can't believe that normal gamers think NFTs are a scam.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, and some people were like, yeah, NFTs aren't a scam. And I'm like, no, I'm saying the opposite of that. I'm saying, how the fuck can you seriously sit there and be like, gamers don't love NFTs? Like, how?
They don't like monkey JPEGs? What?
Seriously, I'll tell you how. They have 99.9% don't have any utility. They're shitty artworks that have been AI generated. And the games that we have existing now, like you're going back in time by 20 years. They're indie at best. They have no substance. They have
not optimized. Yeah.
They're not optimized. We have no good games that are out. Obviously, there's tons that are building. And these investors who are super early are like, can't you see that? And the mainstream's like, we don't invest. We play. We actually play games. And you have no games for us to play. And the ones that you do are dog shit. So, yes, NFTs are bad. We don't think they're good. But you look at Dr. Disrespect's game, it looks like it could be a pretty decent FPS. It's way like 10 times better than any of the other games that are out now. And so he's now facing that same thing, that same frustration that I had 2 years ago, where he's like, do you guys not see this? And you can take two approaches. You can be pissed off with it and be like, you're all idiots. How the fuck do you not realize that this is the new frontier of gaming and ownership is what people want? We're building a good game. Or you can accept that as soon as you do have your game out and you start marketing to these people, and if your game is comparable to what they're used to, then it's going to make sense to them that NFT gaming is actually really good for the space. You're going to get extremely frustrated. And I think that's where Dr. Disrespect is at. But
yeah,
it got like fucking 12 million views.
It was fucking nuts. Yeah. It's a good discussion. I mean, my POV is the same. I mean, there are no good NFT games out there. People are obviously going to be frustrated. They don't see the technology utilized in a way that's sustainable, that has a low entry point. I do think you guys are going to be 100% free on Illuvium 0, so I'm pretty sure people can onboard pretty easily on there. All of them are free to play. Yeah, I think, okay, now I'm recalling. So it's like you can only get tier 0s on the overworld, right? Is that how that works? Is that going to have like some kind of collusion later on where like people have super OP tier 3 NFTs and they're just like dominating the free to plays? Or is there kind of a balance there where tier 3s aren't that much stronger than tier 0s?
No, I mean, they're nowhere near as strong as the tier 5s and tier 4s and tier 3s.
Oh, there's tier 5s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's the
yeah, because I played the beta and I saw tier 3s, I think, was the max.
No. Tier 5s, like your Ramfire and Squeeze and stuff like that. So, yeah, look, I mean, there's a progression though. This is where we're different, where you can jump into the game, you can start playing it, you can go, okay, this is cool. It doesn't cost me any money. There's no like buy $1,000 worth of NFTs to jump in. You can start collecting those tier 0s. And as people saw in the beta, that's your job, right? Like you have to use those tier 0s to eventually catch a tier 1. Then that tier 1. So you can start the game and grind your way through all the way up to tier 5s and then start selling them on the marketplace. but it just is going to take you a long time to do that. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
it's you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not going to cost you anything to go into the higher regions, because it does, but it's balanced out when you spend that money to go to a region and you collect something that's decent. Someone else who doesn't play the overworld that says, I don't want to grind 10 hours a day capturing these alluvials. I just want to go into the competitive PvP arena. And so sell me your character, and then
Yeah.
you're happy because you're like, okay, my time converted into monetary value. And then that guy's happy because he's like, boom, I now have a super powerful combination that I can bring into the arena. And I needed that last air alluvial or fire alluvial or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and in terms of alluvials, I think these are scarce too, right? You can only have so many. It's kind of like the Illuvitars where you're just releasing a set of 500. Obviously, for a lot of people, 500 might not be as much for the whales, right? But for some people, that's enough content. You guys have made like years worth of content. It's not like those like NFT games where you get in there, you play a little bit, and you're done. You're done in what, like 1 to 2 hours.
No,
You've done all the
no.
gameplay. The idea of a launch is like you're probably gonna have a ton of attention. There's going to be a ton of news articles, everything hopping out there. Like, is Illuvium the first NFT game that people are actually going to be interested in? So you have to make sure, like, when you're launching, it's like, okay, we're ready. I was looking at your leak showcase, and it was on, what is it? The Bright Steps, I think, is a new map. Brightland Steps, yeah. And you were doing like some gliding, and you were on a bubble, and obviously like that's still, you know, working out itself. But like those new mechanics are going to make the game a million times more interesting. Especially like I had this big complaint when I made my first Illuvium video. I was like, I wish it just had more life. Like it really feels like a wasteland, right? On Crimson Waste. But you added small things like wind, and the player, you know, walks through the land, and it actually moves around the plants. And some people will be like, that's stupid, classy. It doesn't matter. But it makes it so much more personable. And, you know, like at some point you guys have to build out the lore more. I do know that there's a big focus on like you just crash landed on this planet, and then you just have this technology to harness alluvials that are these dangerous creatures. I did a lot of DD, a lot, way too much. Like I'm super obsessed with this stuff because I like the game. I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm 100% gonna get a bunch of these Illuvitars. Could you break down actually the whole like Illuvitar plan here? Because you're going to get a bunch of these NFT speculators. I think there are these like mega discs too. Let me actually hop on the website so people can see here.
Yeah, so you've got two types of discs. So for the NFT collectors, the speculators, there's alpha discs, which there's 100,000 of the standards, and then there's 20,000 of the mega discs, right? And the mega discs guarantee you a rare alluvial, which is what people are going to be looking for, right? Like you want that rare tier 5. Like if you get a Ramfire that's an alpha,
yeah,
it's going to be ridiculous, right?
Yeah, because that's a tier 5, right?
It's a tier 5, it's a stage 3, and it's also, which is the highest, most powerful alluvial you can get. And as you said, these things come in waves. So after wave 1 is finished, you will never be able to mint them again. And then we go into wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And then eventually, after we've done this set of all the alluvials, you will then we're on to set 2. And so the only way to get these is by buying them off other people on the marketplace. So if you get something that's like a 1 of 3, for example, it's like you getting that PSA 10 Charizard holographic in Pokemon. You keep that for 5-10 years, and we bring in tens of millions of players as Web3 gets bigger and bigger. You're sitting on something that is like so rare, it's not even funny, right? It's like insane. So that's what people should be doing. And having the alpha stamp on it doesn't do anything additional. It just is that flex to say, hey, I got the first edition. And not only first edition, first wave, in the first set.
Yeah, and what's the demand looking like for people trying to get these Illuvitars? Is there like a metric ton of people? Is it kind of like, because I remember your land sale was like historic. People were hyping the heck out of that. It was what, $70 million or some crazy number? Are you guys
Yeah.
looking kind of around that number too? Is there that much interest in these like cheap NFTs, or is it kind of a lower number?
So it's whereas the land sale was a 3-day event and high volume but low duration. This is over 3 months, so we expect that the alpha discs. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
speculating. We're in the middle of a very heavy bear market, but at the same time, we have millions of people that have registered for the Illuvium games. We have hundreds of thousands of people that have registered for Illuvitar specifically. You've got people out there that are like, I'm going to spend 500 grand on Illuvitars. Now,
It's a lot.
me personally, I'm going to spend something like 250K, maybe 300K myself, right? So I don't know how many of those are out there. I'm speculating that the alpha sale is probably going to sell out in like 20 minutes ish, but I don't know. Like, it could
Okay.
be
20
less, could be
minutes?
more. I mean, if people are trying to get those alphas, which are the first editions, then they're going to be going hard fast. And so I don't know.
Dude, they're
Other
gonna
people
have
are
bots
saying
on that stuff. How many is it again?
100,000 and
100. Oh
20.
yeah, that's gonna sell out like that. It's gonna be like nothing. And when do you replenish that supply?
So then we go into the continuous sale, right? Which they're not called they're not alphas, they're not that
Okay.
first edition, but they run for 3 months, and then at the end of that, that's when we do our partner discs. Now, our partner discs are where we have signed 3 for that first wave, where we're talking mainstream audiences
Right.
inside fashion, sporting, gaming, all of these, and like top tier brands that have 20, 30, 50 million followers across the globe.
You're partnering
We're
with
doing,
them.
yeah, we're doing partnered NFTs with them where they will have their own specific NFT, which will have different combinations and stuff like that. Not as many, not as many like accessories and stuff like that. But you'll get a finished product, which that person is able to say, "I love that brand, and now I've got an NFT of it."
Dude, that's insane. Like, I don't even know that. I don't think most people even know that. That's fucking
We
nuts.
haven't spoken
Partnered.
about.
Who's talked about this? Have you talked about this on AMAs, or is this like a leak?
No, I haven't. I've maybe mentioned it 2 or 3 times. So we're in the process. We just signed one last week, and we're in the process of
Fuck.
signing it just a mega one this week. We're finalizing the contract now, but that's the other thing, right? Like you finish the wave, and then these partner discs start, and they're going to be super rare, right? There's
Yeah.
going to be a finite number of them and a timeline that you can actually mint them, and they're potentially going to open us up to tens of millions of people in mainstream that are like, and it's like someone like Porsche, right, just came into the space
Right.
and started selling NFTs, and everyone was like,
And it
"Oh my
didn't go
god,
well. Yeah.
they do nothing. They're just an NFT, and this is a cash grab and whatever." This is a way for brands to say, we're doing a partnership with a world-class gaming company, right? Which is League of Legends, Fortnite, like they all do it. And so it's not too dissimilar to what they're doing. It's just doing it and dipping their toe in the water with these NFT projects. So we think it's like a halfway. So if it went pear-shaped in their community or whatever, they can say, well, we're partnering with a game, and these things are going to be utilized in, at later stages and whatever. So it's not a cash grab, it's a collaboration.
Yeah, and you're not just a game, like you're Illuvium, and you're coming out pretty damn soon. So people are going to be really big on partnering with big brands that have a ton of people and a ton of attention. It's so much safer than, like, we'll do your example with the Porsches. They came out with their NFT collection. I think it flopped at first, and then a bunch of people started joking around with it, and then it randomly like 3x'd, right? So people kind of slept on that one, but just generally speaking, these collections don't do well. I know all the time. I used to be big into NFT gambling. I used to throw hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Ethereum. You probably did the same thing, right? We all did the same thing. We're all stupid, but yeah, like it was a good learning lesson. But I definitely think brands are going to be a lot more keen on safer transactions. Like, I'm going to do a partnership with Illuvium. I'm going to do a partnership with Gala. It's a no-brainer, especially with you guys building on Immutable X. I was like, you opened up my eyes. I didn't even know Immutable X was that big until you guys were building on it. So you're going to be a huge representation for one of the biggest layer 2 blockchains out there. And it's like, it's fucking massive.
Think about that, right? Like this is another thing that just it blows my mind. Immutable X has got 300, 400 games that are building on it. Let's say 5 blow up, right? Like, or whatever. But let's say they turn into Steam.
Yeah.
Eventually. Let's zoom out and go 5-10 years in the future. Well, who do you think is going to have more volume? OpenSea or Immutable X? If you are considering we're going to have hundreds of thousands of in-game assets with Illuvium versus a collection of 10,000 penguins.
And if you wanted to pause there, I do remember back in the day when Axie was going crazy. Of course, Axie is a different case, right? But crypto gaming has a lot of volume. Like, when people are actually interested in this stuff, flipping, it happens all the time. If there's 100,000 NFTs, which is just like a very low number for Illuvium, that's a lot of NFTs people are going to want to trade. And just because it's like $8 does not mean that $8 does not amount to what, like millions of dollars in a day. I mean, Axie's got like $2 NFTs at this point, and they've still got pretty good volume. So I'd imagine a game with a healthy economy would be like 10x, 100x that. That's why I personally think gaming is a way better industry than like film or music, because you've got everything combined. You literally have anything everyone would ever want in one little just pack-sized game. And the crazy part is, like, you guys are free. How ridiculous is that? If I go to the movie theater, I have to pay like $15, $20 for a movie ticket at this point because of inflation. You guys, it's like I don't pay anything and I have a great experience with a product that's being built out with 100+ people that are top talents all over the planet. How crazy is that?
We think so, but it's going to take time, right? Like, people in this space are impatient. They don't want to. I back in 2020 when I started trading again in the space, I didn't want to wait 2 years. I was like, I want to get rich now, right? Like,
that's everybody. Yeah.
In a single project. And so if I looked at a DeFi protocol or whatever, or like the amount of airdrops that I would get from like top tier, like Uniswap and whatever, and I would just immediately sell it because I'm like, give me the money. I want the
me with Blur. Yeah, literally.
But like every single, like, that's the nature of a speculation sort of market where you're wanting to, like, there's so many new things that come out. It's very hard to decouple yourself from this like, I need to get rich quick, because you're right. Like, there's going to be another one next week and the week after and the week after and the week after. And if you're good at that, you can make a stupid amount of money. So I get it, right? Like, I totally get why people are like, I can't wait for Illuvium to launch. It's been 2 years. I'm out.
I'm going to dump everything the second it launches. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
But then there's going to be people that actually are institutional investors. They're solid VCs. They're people who have done their research, and they're like, I've got a time horizon of 5 years in this space, and if I can pick 3 or 4 and put all of my money into those projects and just accept that it's not going to double overnight or whatever it might be that other people are looking for, then in the long run, that's how you maximize your investments, right? And so I accept it. I was one of those people, so it doesn't worry me or anything like that. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's normal. Like I get comments all the time. It's like, classy, why is this token down? And at this point, like, we don't really talk about like token prices going up and down and speculation. I'm trying to kind of gear my content and getting ready for like these game launches, because it feels like it's happening soon for a lot of these games. So at some point, there's gonna be a YouTuber that needs to cover either the news for this kind of stuff or just like gameplay. We'll see what ends up happening there. But I really am big on the adamant belief that a lot of people will speculate and just like dump everything and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of the time it actually ends up helping projects that are building games, because you have marketplace fees. So you kind of, you care, but you kind of don't care, because you're just like making more and more money to raise for the game, to make a better game. So as long as you end up building a good product, at the end of the day, nothing in between matters. Everything is like speculation in crypto. Eventually fundamentals will catch up. Probably never, really, like, let's be honest, but you could try to explain it. And I think a good like conversation shift here is like, I remember when I was first getting into Illuvium, like 2021, it was super DJ Gamba days. Your tokenomics were super into like hyperinflationary craziness. I think they've toned down a little bit. Maybe for some of the Web2 gamers that will see this a couple months down the line, can you explain the idea behind your token and why like it's necessary on Illuvium?
So there's token-wise, there's a couple of things there. So I think a lot of people saw our staking mechanics, and you know what? I like, just looking back, I think we probably assigned too much to our yield farming. And if I could go back, I would reduce that. But it also helps with decentralization. It really distributes the token. It also, like, we're the #1 TVL project on Sushi. We've got 70 million that is locked up.
Really?
In the ETH ILV pool. That's higher than a lot of the DeFi protocols that have been around for 3-4 years, right? And the reason was that we offered such a large portion of our tokens as rewards, and you get people to lock up for a long period of time. Now, where it gets really interesting, and what I think a lot of people are sleeping on, is our tokenomics are set so that every bit of in-game revenue, and if you go back to the Axie example, the only revenue that they were generating was off trading fees.
Yeah.
Right? That's a single revenue pool for us. We also have skins, like all sorts of cosmetics. We have travel fees. We have fusing fees. We have so many of these different like speed ups inside of Illuvium Zero, tournament fees. Like there's just a 7 or 8 buckets, right, that are collecting ETH inside of our gaming universe. And we can do that because we have 4 games that are out there. And what happens is we then take that ETH and we purchase ILV back off the market, right? Oh. And so that ILV that gets purchased off the market, you obviously see a increase in the token price because we're buying it, right? Depending on how much ETH we have is going to affect that market price. Then we send it back to the people who are staked in the protocol proportionately based on how much you have staked in there. So you get this situation where it's unlocked revenue, and you can sit there and you can go, okay, well, I'm either going to double down because I want to make more revenue the next time that they do a distribution, yeah, or I can sell it. Now, if there was a perfect amount of sellers on the other side as we purchased ourselves, you'd theoretically get an evened out situation where it would, let's call it, go up by 10%. And then if everyone sold, it would go back down by 10%. But we don't think that that's going to happen. And we think it might be 5% is sold, right? Like down.
Yeah.
And so you get this nice, as long as we're generating that revenue, you get this constant increase in the token price. But additionally, we as the treasury are part of that. So we have 15% of the tokens right now. But if we go out and generate, 100 million in revenue, just call it in a month, we're going to get we're going to have $15 million of ILV additional in our treasury. That's going to continue to happen over and over and over again. So the circulating supply is reduced every single time our vault triggers. So theoretically, in 10 years, it could get to a stage where if we're generating enough revenue, there's so little circulating ILV out there because our treasury is holding so much of it that
interesting. Yeah.
It makes like one ILV would just be a stupid amount, right? Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what the council will step in and say, okay, now this has gotten to the point where you're like essentially just a normal publisher in mainstream where you've got 80% of the token. So you're receiving 80% of the revenues. We're not going to allow that. We're going to
cut it down.
Sell it down and then and distribute it out to those stakers. But then if you're one of those stakers that's holding it, you get this huge distribution. It's this massive governance event. And so no one realized, like, I feel like people just look and go, oh, they give out so many rewards, that 70% APY on that ETH ILV pool. But as soon as we start generating revenue, let me just be clear as well. The only NFTs that we've ever sold are the land plots. Now, we needed to sell the land plots for people to play that game. Outside of that, we've not sold skins. We've not sold power-ups. We've not sold characters. All of that you have to collect in-game. Had we done that back in the bull market, we could have generated $200 million, $300 million of revenue, but we don't want to ruin the balance. So, that's what goes into the mechanics of, our ILV token and why it's never been done, right? It's never been done where you take that bucket of ETH and you buy a native token and distribute it back to the people.
I mean, that's how it makes sense, right? You're rewarding people that decide to hold. And so do you guys tap into this treasury? Like, is there like a timeline for this, or do you just leave all that there for stakers?
So there's no set timeline, right? Like it's just right now, the way that the white paper has stipulated it is it will continue to increase. We'll continue to buy back more ILV and more ILV. So if there was never a governance proposal, potentially at some stage, we could get up to that ridiculous amount of 50, 60, 70% of the token hold, right? Which means that theoretically there would only be something like 2.4 million ILV that is out there circulating, which if
ludicrous.
Let's say someone creates an IIP to say, Illuvium is never able to sell that ILV. It's just got to sit there and that is it. Or the reverse of that, they have to distribute that ILV. Either or is going to be a ridiculous event because people are going to be like, okay, now we need to update if let's say we burnt that ILV.
It'd be absurd. Yeah, like you just burnt all the supply. Holy shit.
Now I'm one of the, it would just be stupid. So that's the power of our tokenomics. And if you do a few hours of research into it, the light bulb in your head goes off and you go, this is why they've designed it this way. And we spent 6 months designing this, right? Like we took the best of so many different DeFi protocols, put it all, mashed it together, and then said, this is the best way that we can have an increasing token price, a market value that keeps going up. But the game has to be good, right? Like we have to have people spending money. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
And the really cool thing is like you're kind of like a cheerleader when you get into Illuvium's token, because it's like if I'm playing a bunch of League of Legends anyway, I probably want to own Riot stock because I know how many people are going to end up playing this anyway in the long term. And it's so interesting because you're kind of like well aware of the fact that like we have Web3. Some of these brands are kind of like, I want to like not talk about NFTs and I don't want to talk about Web3. And I just want to act like this is a Web2 game that just has like these collectibles on them that you could buy. But no, you guys are like, okay, we've got NFTs. We are Web3. We're not scared of talking about it. We're going to show the world that we can actually do this properly and execute on it, which I think is so interesting. And it's bold. It's a very bold thing to say. And if you're saying bold things, you've got to execute. And trust me, if you guys have played the beta, like, fuck, it looks good. It's a beautiful game. Like, when they come up with the full thing, I'm going to be so hyped to see, especially like lobbies and all kinds of, like, I could already see a world where you guys expand your IP into like sandbox and all these different, no, not like the sandbox, but like just like a sandbox mode where people are building out these maps and ludicrous stuff like Fortnite. It's going to be big. And I'm very excited because you were talking about marketplaces. I think you guys have your own marketplace. Is that operating on Immutable X? Because I think it's on your website, right?
Yeah, the Illuvidex. So that
the Illuvidex.
You can purchase land on there. That's where we're holding the Illuvitar's sale, Illuvium Beyond. So yeah, you'll be able to jump in there, and that's the other thing. I don't know any NFT collections that have as much hype behind them as what this Illuvium Beyond launch has. That's completely on layer 2. Like the idea, and I've been in a stupid amount of these NFT projects, right? Where I buy it, it goes either 10x up, I never sell it, and then it goes down 100x. And I'm sitting there like, God damn it, I've spent more gas on buying it than the actual NFT is worth now. I don't know of a single other project that has gone full layer 2 where it's not going to cost you a cent in gas. It's free to purchase it. It's just what it costs.
Yeah. That's literally like, it's the blockchains I'm most hyped for. Like Gyri was a big one. They're doing gasless stuff too. IMX is the second one. Like if I'm telling people which blockchains I'm super hyped for, it's those two. Because you make gasless games, it's over. Like you make a good game, you make it gasless, everyone is going over there. I've spent easily over like 30K in gas fees over the bull market when things were like $100 a transaction. You'd try to bundle them and it would be, oh God, it would be expensive. Like I don't even want to talk about that. But
oh man, have you gone to that gas stop? What the fuck? I think it is.
Yeah, dude. I think that's fees.wtf, right? And then they even had an airdrop at some point. It was sexy. It was definitely a sexy one. How much you got on there? You probably have more than me.
Let me see here. It's been spread across a bunch of wallets, but one of my 761 ETH.
Fuck. In gas fees? Well, that makes sense.
Sorry, that's the example. I'll get my old account. It was something stupid. Like at one point, it was like, it was something like 700K in gas that I'd spent.
Fucking nuts. You bought every NFT on the market. Like you saw that thing launch and you bought it.
And I was trading back in the days of DeFi farming where I would claim, like that's the thing. You buy an NFT, you sell an NFT, that's 2 transactions.
Yes.
You go into DeFi farming where you're trying to get the yield, you're claiming because the token, God, this was so much fun. It brings back the memories. Because you would get APYs of like 10,000%.
Oh, right? Dude, that's Olympus.
Oh, that was old. Like that was a year and a half on. I'm talking prior to that. Things like Frax, right? Where you'd have 3 different tokens. You could go in either pool. The APYs would just be ridiculous. Yeah. And you would have to claim, because you were earning so much money, you'd have to claim like every 6 minutes or something. What? And back then, because it would be like $1,000. So you'd claim, it would cost you $120. Then you'd sell it down. Then you'd go, okay, I'm going to claim again. And you do that for like an hour and 20 minutes. And then it's like, okay, now the token's like 10x down. So it's over.
I fucking love that. Yeah, that's the story of my life. Yeah. Hey, it reminded me a lot of like Time Wonderland. I'm a little bit more of like a zoomer in the crypto space. I got in big in like early 2021, so I'm nothing compared to you, right? But I was big into like Time Wonderland. Another one was like Jade that had like 100,000% APR. But the cool thing is like they had like it was like staked OHM and all these different weird things to have loopholes and auto compounding. Yeah. You guys didn't have that, right? You just had a bunch of Ponzi coins. Ethereum gas fee miners were making tons of money. Good for them, right? Maybe not as lucrative anymore, but yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Not fun for a gamer though.
No, and that's the thing, right? Like I was in that. My two brothers who co-founded Illuvium with me, they were like, "What the actual fuck? Like, we don't want to do that. Like, that
Yeah.
seems really degen." But a lot of our tokenomics and mechanics came. Like, I was in 250 plus of these DeFi protocols, and distributions didn't come from us. It was this random protocol that decided to use a burning mechanism and then a distribution mechanism. And we just decided to incorporate that into our tokenomics. But we had like so many different things that we were bringing to the table to go like, okay, what if we introduce this and this and this? And that's why when people really look into the tokenomics of Illuvium, it's like, okay, these things are pretty robust. Like if the game is good and people are playing it, then investors are going to be looked after.
Yeah,
Obviously,
of course.
not financial advice, but yeah, like that's the whole way that it's meant to be set up.
That's at least the idea. Of course, like, people do their own due diligence on it. And I'd say, like, if you like Illuvium, you could look into that stuff. But honestly, you don't have to spend money. Like, you could be a free-to-play player.
Oh,
They are the people that are the lifeblood of these ecosystems. I mean, whales are cool and all, and they give you guys a bunch of money, but the people that make it entertaining are free-to-play players. They make always the most creative content, a bunch of different things, and I'm really looking forward to, like, a new era of gaming where it's just a bunch of free-to-play players that decide to utilize Immutable X to just trade on Illuvium's decks.
yeah, and then that's the thing, right? Like free-to-play players, they don't want to pay $80 to get into a game.
Nah, no way.
I'll spend $1,000 on cosmetics and buying skins and emotes and like animations and stuff like that, where it's like, now I'm flexing on you, and it's like you actually spent 10 times more than what a normal gamer would play. And that's what the unlock was with free to play. So we just have a combination of both, and say on top of the fact that you can buy your skins like you would in Fortnite, you can also sell them. That is the big unlock that you get with having ownership of your assets.
Yeah, I see your marketing strategy. I don't see it like mobile at all. For example, like, there's like a couple of these Pokemon games, if you want to kind of relate to it, that you hop on the game and there's always that $1 offer. You know, you spend $1, you're hooked into these games for the rest of eternity. You're always spending to try to get a bit above, but you're never that much more, but that $50 pack might help you. That's really predatory. Like, that's bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't think Web3 games are really doing that. I mean, I think we're just like, we're letting people play the games. If they feel like interacting with ecosystems, they can. If you don't, there's probably going to be enough free-to-play players where it's not going to matter. You're just going to match with them anyway. But if you want to be that step above and you want to flex or whatever you want to do, go for it. Like, I've spent thousands of dollars on stupid skins that look a little cooler than other people's, because I would do the same thing in League of Legends. Like, I spent a ton of money on League when I was doing my run to Challenger. Everybody had skins, and they spent the money because they felt like, the 5,000 hours I'm putting into League of Legends, I don't want some ugly base skin. I'm going to go ahead and get this unique skin.
100%. Even in-game avatars, right? Like, you know, when you're sitting in the lobby and you're waiting, you don't want to be that dude who's just got the standard. Like, you want something that's super creative. And they've got hundreds of them that you can go in and purchase. They're $10, $20, $50, and you don't have a problem with it. But you need to love the IP. There's a reason that you can't, like, just sell skins inside of current Web3 games, because either the art isn't good enough, the character lore isn't good enough, where it's like, okay, I don't love this character. It's like there's 8 trillion of these that are in existence and they all look pretty much the same. Maybe it's got a flower or some bullshit like that. But if you build out really high quality 3D characters that all have their own lore and personality and something that resonates with the end user, that's when you're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to put a party hat on that guy, because I love my Garen or whatever it might be.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And just having the ability, because with you guys, especially like Illuvitars, I don't know if this is going to happen with the entire thing. Also, we have like 10 minutes, but just like generally speaking, if you could just change the smallest of things, it makes it so much more personal. It's weird.
100%.
People are odd. You can have the same thing. You just change it a little bit and they're like, okay, that's mine. I love that thing, and it gets me the most excited. And here's another really big thing. I remember back in the day when I was making Illuvium content and I was talking to your influencer relations, he was like, you know, I don't really like the art on this thumbnail you've made. It looks cool, but it's not our style. And I was just like, what are you even talking about? But the thing was, like, he would be like, we've got purple, and this purple style is going to be really relatable to everybody. Whenever somebody in our AP enters, they're going to see that purple and they're going to be like, oh, that's Illuvium. I look up on Google Images, Illuvium, like, okay, that makes sense. So every time I see the color, I'm going to associate it with Illuvium. And it's genius, especially though, like those huge obelisks that have the eye on them. Genius, because everybody's going to see them. Every time you see it, instantaneously, it's going to be relatable. And the uniqueness of that art style, I think, is going to put you guys a metric ton more than some of those collections where it's just like, I'm going to use Unity assets and just go from there. Good luck, have fun.
I remember when Grant was originally doing the pitch deck, and we'd worked on 4 or 5 other projects before, and we were literally, he designed this appliance before that we were going to launch, which is completely different. It would have been in retail, mainstream, not Web3 at all. But he designed this appliance that literally rivaled the looks of like Dyson, right? Like that level. And he goes so far beyond, and he doesn't just stop with his art style. He doesn't just think what is going to look good temporarily, right? He taps into the psychology of like, what is going to resonate with a large piece of the audience that we're going after, where they see it, and as you say, they see that purple color and they go, boom, yes, that's Illuvium, right? Or they see the obelisk, which he spent, you know, hours designing and like fine tuning, and we're sitting there and we're like, dude, we don't know the difference. And he's like, that is the difference, right? Like that will make the difference. Like having those little tiny accents on things is that additional polish that really makes people go like, that's that identity of Illuvium everywhere.
Yeah, when they think of Illuvium, they're going to think of those giant obelisks in purple. That's all that's going to happen. Illuviums are great and all. Yeah.
They're there yet. Like that's
no, I have no idea. Yeah.
The lore is there. We have hundreds, if not thousands of pages of lore and storyline of why all that.
When does that come out?
What they do, and no one know. Like we won best lore in that award show.
Yeah, it was like, how did you win that? I mean, what's the lore?
No fucking idea. I don't know. We haven't given away any of our lore apart from Crash Land and
people. Anyway, we're just like, yeah, you got the best lore because you have something on there.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess, right? So imagine when you actually publish it.
100%.
Anyone know where the inspiration for the design of the obelisk comes from? I don't fucking know. It looks huge, dude. Like, you just grab the logo, magnify it 1,000,000 times. You can't forget it.
I don't know why. I remember when he was designing, it came from the logo. So when we initially had, like Aaron was designing the lore, like what happened, how do you travel around? And once, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I remember at one stage, he wanted the little dash to be like, that's you teleporting, right? Like that's why that dash in the middle of the obelisk needed to be there on the logo, because that was seen as like, how do I envisage people looking at that logo and going like, what is Illuvium? And it's this place where you're like transporting yourself from one region to another region to another region, utilizing technology. And that's why he was so obsessed with that. But I don't think it came from anything. Like he's a fucking genius when it comes to anything artistic. He always has been our entire lives. Yeah. He's been able to just look at something and just come up with a concept, polish it, and turn it into something that people like really resonate with, which I think is you know, one of our most powerful assets in Illuvium is that identity that we have, and it honestly it came from that guy.
Dude, Grant's a fucking genius. He came up with all of this.
Obviously, there's been a whole bunch of stuff that the art team, like we got 70 artists that are all experts and whatever, and it's developed. And you know, we've got Florian, who's our head of UX and UI, that's definitely incorporated a whole bunch of stuff. But things like the obelisk, the logos, and like these basic things,
the fundamentals,
the fundamentals are 100% Grant. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. And you were kind of like the guy that was doing the sales and the exposure. Like, where did you come into the equation?
So I was initially, he said we've
Yeah.
done so many projects that didn't come off the ground that he was like, dude, I'm not doing this shit again, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm the capital raiser, right? Where I'll come
Yeah.
in and say, all right, I'll get the money. I know what we need to do, and so you just design me a whole bunch of characters, and I said, Aaron, just get me a game design in terms of like storyline and what the hell is going on and like how the game's going to function. Grant, you do the art, and I'll go get us the money, and then we can start building a team. But Grant was like, if you don't raise this money in, I think he gave me 2 weeks, and
2 weeks.
2 weeks to raise the money. And I was like, because he was fed up. He's like, I'm sick of doing this shit with you. But
Yeah.
then he knows how to trigger me. And before he'd even given me the final pitch deck, I was like, dude, you've pissed me off so much that I'm going to go and raise the money just with the concept that we've created, right?
No
like,
shot. No
and we
pitch
did
deck.
it.
You just cold turkeyed it.
No pitch deck, and we were able to raise. It ended up being half because we wanted to raise another 250K on top of that. But yeah, that first 250K, and it just speaks to like the competitive nature. Like he literally was like, "You can't do it. I know you can't do it. I'm wasting my time. I'm the expert artist. You're some dumbass.
You don't know what the fuck you're doing." Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and you have no idea. And I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. Give me 10 minutes and I'm going to get this money. And, funny stories. But yeah, this is sort of how things were started.
You fucking made it happen. That's incredible. It's the most epic crypto comeback story. It's like you do a bunch of failed projects and then you just boom, you have the one that actually clicks. You finally raised the money you needed to create the product. And I'll say like the vision of Illuvium is so much better than it was when it first started. Like you guys have a million X from where you first started. It was so humble, right? It was a humble beginning with Illuvium. You're going to do like one thing and just call it a day. Now you're doing God knows what. Like I don't even know half the time what's going on, which is good because I cover it all the time and I still don't know what's going on. So it'll make it interesting for people when things actually end up coming out. But it was definitely a pleasure to have you on the channel. Yeah, I think it's the first AMA we've actually had. Dude, I think we were supposed to have an AMA in like November, but I'm low-key kind of glad that didn't happen because now there's so much more exposure, right? Illuvium's really big. Crypto gaming is finally getting the proper exposure that it needs, and I think this is your one, man, and I think Illuvium's going to be a big part of it. So thank you for hopping on the channel, Kieran. A lot of people are very excited. If you guys want to participate on the Illuvitar launch, it's at what time? Like 10 p.m. Eastern time or what?
10 p.m. UTC.
10 p.m. UTC tomorrow. And you're having a live stream too, I believe. I'm going to be a part of that. It's going to be a little interesting on what I do. Yeah, I really like what you guys had in terms of ideas.
Yeah, no, you gotta jump on and battle someone. I'm probably going to end up doing some crazy shit on that stream. So I already did that $5,000 charity battle with Bryson. But yeah, we can do some crazy stuff.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna end up doing the same shit too. So hopefully I can get cuter Illuvitars than you ever were able to. Maybe I'll get that. What is that thing called? The Ram something, the tier 5. Maybe I'll be the one that gets lucky there. I still have to learn the Illuvitar names, so that's gonna be a really interesting adventure too. There's so much coming out. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it was a pleasure. We're gonna have another one of these pretty soon, probably. So until the next time, gentlemen, if you want to participate in it, link is in the description. This is Classy Crypto. That's Kieran Warwick, co-founder of Illuvium. Till the next time, stay safe, stay classy.